All right, we got the news that Mayweather's fighting Madonna next. Whoop-de-doo, like I put on Karceno's page. He's fighting a guy who was whooped by Alexander, so he should make easy work. Is that what you Flomos use, easy work? He should make easy work of that. I'm going to talk about that in an upcoming video, but let me get to what this video is about here. I have to make the response to Karceno because he made his video and there was some flaws, so I'll go ahead and get into this, and then I'll do a video on Mayweather versus Madonna down the line within the next few days or so. Okay, everybody, I'm going to make a response to Karceno's video. Okay, I have a couple of pieces of paper here where I took some notes from things that Karceno had said, and I'm going to go over some of Karceno's points. I'm also going to log on to BoxRec right now. Let me log on to BoxRec. Okay. First of all, I want to start by saying that I was really surprised by your video, Karceno. Actually, I'm still somewhat in shock because I thought that your historical boxing knowledge was better than what it is. That was a good attempt to dissect Ali's resume. Now, first of all, I want to say that Floyd Mayweather has the right to feel like he's the best boxer to ever live. I think you guys are running around, your Floyd followers, saying TBE or something like that. There are several ways I could do this. And honestly, for me to do this effectively, I would really need maybe 4 videos. But I'm going to try my best to correct Karceno and all the mistakes he made. And then I'm going to do a part 2 to where I will do something similar to what Karceno did with Floyd Mayweather. I am going to take his resume and dissect it and compare it to Ali's. But instead of trying to trash Mayweather's resume, I'm going to keep in mind what the argument is really about. It's about Floyd Mayweather saying that he was greater than Ali. Floyd Mayweather's reasons were that he's made more money than Ali. He's been on top for 17 years, which we did the math on that, and I'll say it again, and I hate to sound like a parrot, as D-Style would say, but let's do the math. Ali turned pro in 1960. In 1977, Ali was champion of the world. That's a fact. That's not opinion-based. That's a fact. Okay? Now, some of the things that I'm going to say, they will be opinion-based, but I'm going to throw a lot of factual information into my argument, and I'm going to keep in mind that this has to do with Ali versus Mayweather. Karceno started this video out by saying that what is being done to Mayweather now was done to Ali because Ali paraded around saying that he is the greatest, and the critics of that time, they were critical, and they mentioned guys such as Sugar Ray Robinson and Joe Louis and said, no, he's not as great as Sugar Ray Robinson. He's not as great as Joe Louis. He's not as great as Rocky Marciano, to the extent to where a video was even made of him fighting a Rocky Marciano, and I believe that Marciano won that fight, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. I can't quite remember. But the difference is that Ali fought everybody. When Karceno was dissecting the resume, he was giving us a lot of the answers just by telling us all the people that Ali had fought. Not once did I hear him mention who Ali did not fight, which I have a feeling when I do the same thing in my part 2 with Floyd Mayweather's resume, I will be able to mention fighters from every era that Floyd Mayweather did not fight. Whether he called them out or not, however you guys want to look at it, the answers are in black and white. It's on the resume. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention too that Floyd Mayweather also said that he's greater than Ali because of the statistics, which we know that statistics in boxing are opinion-based. Now, there is different levels of how valid the statistics are in boxing, such as what we see on BoxRec, the record, That even could be disputed because, for instance, when Mayweather fought Castillo or when Ali fought Norton, Ali did get 2 victories out of that Norton trilogy, but yet some people question that. So some people question if Mayweather beat Castillo. You understand what I'm saying? So even those statistics are, they're somewhat disputable. Okay, let's look at their resumes side by side. I have Ali pulled up on BoxRec, and I'm using BoxRec, but I'm going to go off of just what I can recall on my memory, okay, about each of these fighters. And I'm looking at Mayweather's resume here. I just did a little bit of math, okay? I did a little bit of math right before the video started. So I'm telling you guys that I am using BoxRec to an extent. Let's talk about both fighters' first 10 fights. The first 10 fights usually are guys who they fight just to get started in their career. The first 10 fighters that Ali fought had a combined total of fights of 302 fights. The first 10 fighters that Mayweather fought had a combined 138 fights, okay? In these 138 fights, the first 10 opponents that Mayweather fought had 55 losses. In the 302 fights that Ali's opponents had a total of 84 losses. So that tells us that right off the jump, Ali's opponents on his resume were more experienced, okay? And not only that, they had a higher winning percentage. Do the math. I know that the Floyd Mayweather fans have a problem with math, most of them. They love to talk about numbers, don't lie, but they're not very good with numbers. So hopefully I don't have to do the math for you, but that gives you an idea that from the jump, Ali fought more experienced contenders, okay? Both of them were coming off of the Olympics. Ali won a gold medal. Floyd Mayweather won a silver medal. So right out of the gate, Ali's resume is already a tougher resume. Let's let the real fight fans hear the truth from me. What would Floyd do if he was Ali? Because Karceno, you failed, man. You failed miserably. Karceno mentioned Billy Daniels as the first valid opponent for Floyd Mayweather. The reason why he mentioned Billy Daniels, let's look at Billy Daniels here. Let's look at him. Let's look at him on the resume. Shit, I didn't even know who Billy Daniels was. When he mentioned that name, it didn't ring a bell to me. But I'm looking at the resume now, and I see that it says 16-0 next to Billy Daniels. Let's click on Billy Daniels here. Let's click on him. Well, in his career, he ended up having 22 losses. But at the time he fought Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, he was 16-0. So this rung a bell to Karceno. He spoke about this man's occupation, how he laid tiles or something like that. Us true historians know that the first milestone fight was Sonny Banks, because this was the fight where Ali was floored by a left hook. This showed us that Ali had the ability to get up and win a fight. Most historians I know have always mentioned the Sonny Banks fight. They never mentioned this Daniels fight before. But because he's 16-0 and Karceno has been brainwashed by the Flomo ideology that undefeated is right, he mentions a guy who's irrelevant on Ali's record to start out. So it is obvious that he did not watch the documentaries. He did not read the magazines. He basically went onto BoxRec. He saw 16-0, typed Billy Daniels' name into the search engine because he had no idea who Billy Daniels is, because I don't know who Billy Daniels is. So I know for sure that Karceno doesn't know who Billy Daniels is, okay? He saw the 16-0, just admit it, Karceno. You saw 16-0, and you mentioned him as a milestone in Ali's career, when Sonny Banks is the first valid milestone that you should have mentioned. So that's the first mistake that you made, Karceno. 2 fights later, he fights Archie Moore, who has over 200 fights at the time, okay? Archie Moore is a fighter that actually utilized the shoulder roll that Floyd Mayweather is known for. Archie Moore utilized this shoulder roll in an even more convincing fashion, because I don't buy that garbage about Floyd is the most skilled, because the people that he is putting his skills on display against are limited. They are limited. So I can't buy this argument that he has the most skills when other fighters utilize the shoulder roll in a more convincing fashion. So Ali faced somebody who utilized the shoulder roll, which Karceno failed to mention this because he doesn't really know Archie Moore. I don't think he does. I think he only knows about Archie Moore through what he's heard and through just other fighters mentioning Archie Moore. But because he doesn't know Ali, I have a real difficult time believing that he knows who Archie Moore is. Well, let me give you some history, Karceno. You failed to mention Archie Moore was Ali's trainer, okay? He tried to change Ali's style. He wanted Ali to utilize that same shoulder roll that other great fighters have utilized, such as Walcott. He tried to push the shoulder roll off on Ali. Ali had a lot of physical attributes. He was gifted. He was gifted. To me, he was more skilled than Mayweather could ever be. Like D-Style said in the earlier video. By the way, I love the comedy session, D-Style. Make sure everybody go check out D-Style's comedy session in which he speaks about the Ali and Mayweather comparison. Other fighters utilized the shell better than Mayweather. They did. And I have the reason to believe this because of what is on their resume. Now, let's keep in mind here that Archie Moore was a great light heavyweight champion and that he went up and down between the heavyweight and light heavyweights. He would go from light heavyweight to heavyweight, back down to light heavyweight, and he was a valid name in both divisions, okay? Moore had over 200 fights. This was Ali's 16th pro fight. By the time Floyd got into his 16th pro fight, he had never fought anybody like Archie Moore. Regardless on if Archie Moore was over the hill or not, Archie Moore was over the hill. But still, we're talking resume for resume here. At 16 pro fights, none of those guys that Mayweather fought, and I'm looking at Mayweather's resume right now. Let's see. There's no one on Mayweather's resume altogether who's as skilled as Archie Moore. There's nobody on his resume who utilized the shoulder roll as well as Archie Moore. And in his first 16 fights, these guys have a real high loss percentage. I've already proved that the guys in the Mayweather resume, they have more losses. Like the loss percentage is higher. Go back and look at some of the guys that Ali fought. They were more experienced, and they had more wins. Their winning percentage is higher. I did the math. I'm very good at math. I know that the Floyd Mayweather fans' mindset is not equipped to deal with math, but there was a time where I taught algebra, and I tutored algebra on a college level, just to let you guys know that, and I'm not bullshitting, I did. So I understand math, okay? I understand the numbers, all right? But did Karceno mention how Archie Moore was Ali's trainer and tried to push the shoulder roll on Ali? He didn't mention that. Ali did not want any parts of the shoulder roll. Ali had better footwork, like D-Style said. I was talking about that earlier. I got distracted, I guess. But like D-Style said, Ali had better footwork. He was more physically gifted than Floyd. Now, Floyd is very, very physically gifted. If he is the most skilled fighter, I have to look at his resume. I don't know for sure. It's possible that he could be, though. And if somebody says he is, I could kind of get your argument, but I don't agree with it because of what's on Floyd's resume. I'm looking at his first 16 or so opponents. I don't see anything here that could compare to what Ali did up to this point. Okay? Now, as you can see, the difference with my video is that I am also talking about what Floyd did, whereas Karceno only discredited Ali. And this is not even the video that I'm going to do where I finally do break down Karceno's way of doing the way he did his video towards Ali. I'm going to do the same thing for Floyd Mayweather, except I'm going to mention opponents that were around at the time. I'm going to mention multiple alphabet belts. I mean, I have to be fair here. Let's move on here. What did Karceno say next? Let's go back to Karceno's notes here. Let's see. I have the notes here from Karceno's video. He then went on from Archie Moore to Henry Cooper. But see, he made a major mistake. He failed to mention Charlie Powell and Doug Jones. Now, let me tell you, I know who both of these fighters are. I know who they both are. Charlie Powell used to play NFL football for the Oakland Raiders, okay? In fact, not only was he an NFL football player, but he was also a professional baseball player, and he was black. Now, I'm not trying to be racist here, but Floyd is afraid of black fighters. So from time to time, I'm going to be reminding people that Ali fought athletic black fighters, which Powell was athletic. He wouldn't be in the NFL if he wasn't athletic. He wouldn't be a professional baseball player if he's not athletic, especially an NFL player. But see, this is stuff that Karceno does not know. He doesn't know this because he doesn't know Ali's career like I know Ali's career. I studied Ali to the T. My father was a huge fan of Ali. I've been around longer than Karceno, okay? I'm older than Karceno. By who knows how many years, I do know I'm older, though. Let's talk some more about Charlie Powell, who Karceno skipped over, who's an athletic young fighter at that. He's young, too. A young black fighter, something that is rare on Floyd Mayweather's resume. I'm just pointing something out. I'm not trying to be a racist, but I have to bring it up because Floyd is scared of young black fighters, okay? And I have to say things several times because Flomos don't really get it the first time. You have to mention it a couple of times for Flomos, okay? Now, Karceno wanted to focus on this Billy Daniels guy who stacked tile, but he failed to mention that Powell was in the NFL. I mean, why not bring that up, Karceno? Why not bring the fact of what every boxing historian knows about Powell rather than Daniels, who just because he's 16-0, he's invalid, man. He's invalid, Karceno. You made a big mistake there, okay? And I want you to also, Karceno, to go out and research Charlie Powell. Look into him. Because I know you don't know him. You've never heard of him, Karceno. This was his 17th fight, okay? Then he fought Doug Jones. Doug Jones is another young black fighter that was under 30 who was in his prime. Jones defeated Foley and Bob Foster, okay? He defeated two of the other opponents that Karceno mentioned, but he failed to mention Jones, who defeated two of the guys that he mentioned. I don't understand that. Jones was a young, prime black fighter who had won pretty much the majority of all his fights, including defeating a legendary Bob Foster when Bob Foster was very young, okay? Now, let's get into what Karceno said next. So, yeah, he had mentioned Henry Cooper, okay? So I gave you the information about Charlie Powell and Doug Jones, okay? Two black fighters, something that Mayweather doesn't do. Karceno wanted to throw out occupations, but he didn't mention the fact that Charlie Powell was in the NFL. He didn't mention the fact that Jones beat Foster and Foley. Now, let's get into Henry Cooper. Who was Henry Cooper? Do you really know anything about Henry Cooper, Karceno, other than the fact that he knocked Ali down? You failed to mention that Banks had knocked down Ali. But you don't really know anything about Henry Cooper. He was the Commonwealth champion, Karceno, okay? He lost to Foley. He also defeated Foley. And what I really like about Cooper is he fought black fighters, too. Go look at his resume. He lost to some black fighters. But at one time, Cooper was possibly the best fighter in Europe. And it was at the time that Ali fought him. Not only did Ali fight him, he did something else that Floyd doesn't do. He went over to London and fought him in his own country. When have we ever seen Floyd do that? Why did you not mention these things? Why did you not even mention Floyd during your whole video? You seem more like you was trying to discredit Ali, but the argument is comparing Ali and Floyd, and you did not mention Floyd. That's a flaw, Karceno. That's a flaw. You have an obsession for this man. He brainwashed you to thinking that undefeated is right, and it's not, Karceno. I used to think that maybe you were misdirecting people, but you don't know though. I had no idea that you just didn't know. I didn't know that you didn't know. I didn't know until you did this video. Why did Floyd not fight outside his country at this point in his career? Or why does he never fight outside of the country for that matter? Let me guess, Karceno, because of the business aspect, right? Times have changed, huh? You see where I'm going with this? You see how I'm schooling you? How I'm teaching you a lesson? Don't speak on things you don't know about, Karceno. Okay? I mean, I hate to do this, but I have to, man. Let's move on here. Let's move on to some of Karceno's other points. Let me get my notes out here that I took on Karceno's video. He then went on to mention Liston, okay? He spoke about Cooper, and then he went right to Liston. Karceno described Liston as just a come-forward fighter. You see, I have to tell you guys what Sonny Liston is all about, okay? First of all, Sonny Liston was a 7-1 favorite over Ali. When have you ever known a fighter to be a 7-1 favorite over Mayweather? Okay? You see how I'm actually really comparing the two? You see how I'm doing things and how my video is more effective? And a lot of you Flomos are going to have a problem with it. You guys know deep down that my video is more effective, but you're going to have a problem with my video because I'm right and you're wrong and you just don't want to see it the way I see it. But honestly, a lot of this stuff is factual information. This is not opinion shit. He was a 7-1 favorite. There's nothing in that spells opinion. I have to continue to remind you guys that this is not an opinion, okay? Liston at one time had that same aura about him that Mike Tyson had. He was the most feared man. Liston was beating the hell out of people, knocking people out, left and right, knocking them out with jabs. He was a killer in there, man. There is nobody on Floyd Mayweather's resume who could compare to Liston. Nobody. First of all, Floyd couldn't have fought the most feared man on the planet because he's a midget. And pound for pound was created for midgets like Floyd. And he's 5'7", 5'8". What is he, 5'8" or something? And I've seen Karceno before standing next to Floyd. He actually has a picture where he's standing next to Floyd, which he's made sure to let everybody know that he's met Floyd. And Karceno is about the same height as Floyd, so maybe he just gives the midgets hope. I don't know. Now, I'm just kidding, Karceno. But honestly, man, come on. Sonny Liston, man. There's nobody on Floyd's resume who can compare to Liston. He's not just your average come-forward fighter. This man was the most feared man on the planet. He was annihilating people. You really need to go back and do some research on Liston if you're just writing him off as a come-forward fighter. But yet the guys on Floyd's resume that you give credit to, you see them as more scary than Sonny Liston. Liston had only lost once during the time. He lost to another black fighter, Marty Marshall. Okay? He avenged that loss to Marty Marshall. He even knocked him out one time. They fought again 2 times. He beat him both times. Okay? So at the time, Liston was 35-1. Okay? So now we have another black fighter, 35-1, something that Mayweather doesn't fight. He doesn't fuck with black fighters with those kind of records. He don't. He's scared to do it. He's terrified. I'm going to tell you guys a little later why Floyd is terrified of black fighters. I got some inside information, and I don't know if it's true or not, but it's just as valid as anything Karceno would say, trust me. But I'll get into that pretty soon. I have to continue to say this thing because most of the people who are going around screaming TBE, they're black. So that's why I have to say black fighters, just to remind them, because all we have screaming TBE are a bunch of niggas and wiggers, and I have to remind them from time to time. So true boxing fans, just be a little patient with me on that, okay? After he fought Liston twice, he goes on to fight Floyd Patterson, okay? He fights Floyd Patterson. Now, what did Karceno say in Patterson? Patterson was at the end of his career. That's false, Karceno. In fact, Patterson went on quite a winning streak. Go look at his resume after. Actually, let's go ahead and pull him up. Can't I hit the hyperlink here? Let's see. Let's hit the hyperlink and see what happened with Floyd Patterson's career. I do know that Floyd Patterson was never knocked out again until Ali knocked him out. Hold on. Let's see here. Let's pull it up. I know he had a winning streak. Boxing rec is okay. It's okay to guide you, but it's not okay to get solely go off of boxing rec. It's okay to just guide you or to remind you of things. Yeah, looking at things here, let's see. He fought Ali. Okay, he goes on a winning streak. He loses to Jerry Quarry off the distance. He loses to Jimmy Ellis off the distance. Then he goes on to like a 10-fight winning streak here. Yeah, he goes on to a winning streak. He beats Oscar Bonavena, the guy whose name you couldn't say, who I'll get into him too. He beats some black fighters. Yeah, he beats black fighters. Look at this. Black fighters, something Floyd doesn't fight. Then he goes on to fight Ali in 72, and he gets knocked out. But this is after a huge a nine fight winning streak. Okay. All right. I knew there was a winning streak. I couldn't remember how many fights. Thank you, BoxRec. So all that talk about his career being over, I don't think he could have beat a fighter like Oscar Bonavena if his career was over. But you don't know Bonavena, though. You don't know him. And you call yourself a boxing expert, and you don't even know Oscar Bonavena. That's pretty pathetic, if you ask me. Pretty pathetic, man. You lost a lot of credibility on this vid that you just did, man. Okay? You're right. You were right. I don't even know why we're doing this, honestly. I don't. Let's go back into Karceno's video here. Okay. Next, he goes into Chuvalo. He said that George Chuvalo was done. Well, George Chuvalo went on to have a very fruitful career as a contender after the Ali fight. In fact, he went on a long winning streak. He was knocked out by George Foreman and Joe Frazier, but he beat quite a few fighters, including some black fighters, something that Mayweather is scared of. In fact, George Chuvalo fought more black fighters than Mayweather. George Chuvalo was a very active fighter. He was a very good fighter, too. Very tough guy. Very tough guy. He mentioned Brian London. Brian London was one of the best fighters over in Europe at the time. By the way, he fought Brian London overseas. So once again, he fought overseas. While Mayweather is fighting bums, he's fighting the best fighters in Europe in their backyard. He went over to Germany and fought Mildenberger in his backyard. Why didn't you mention that, Karceno? Aren't you supposed to be doing a comparison? Why didn't you mention the fact that he went over for 3 straight fights in Europe? He went on a 3-fight stretch overseas. Not just one time, overseas, man. He did 3 fights in a row overseas. But yet you're not mentioning this. And not only did he go overseas, but he's fighting the best fighter that they have to offer. Oh, yeah, and by the way, I forgot to even mention, he fought George Chuvalo in Canada. So that's a 4-fight stretch in a 6-month period. He fought 4 fights as the heavyweight champion overseas. 4 fights in a row. What has Mayweather done similar to that? We're comparing. We're not, I mean, come on, we're comparing. Let's be fair here. You're leaving out a lot of shit, Karceno, because you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know, man. Don't speak on these issues again. Don't make yourself look bad like that again, man. He fought Cleveland Williams. And he was a black fighter that was 65-5. Who does Mayweather have to compare to Cleveland Williams? What black fighter was 65-5 that Mayweather fought? Huh? To make it so bad, Cleveland Williams had not lost a fight. He lost 1 fight to Ernie Terrell, but he had not lost another fight, and that was a split decision that he lost to Ernie Terrell. Okay? But other than that, he had not lost a fight since he lost to Liston. He was on an incredible winning streak where he was knocking people out left and right, man. when Cleveland Williams fought Ali. What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about, Karceno? And guess what else, Karceno? He was defeating and knocking out black fighters. Okay? Something that your boy Mayweather is scared of. He's scared of black fighters. But I'm just letting you know that all of these guys that you're talking about, they did some incredible things. Do you think that Mayweather is going to fight a black fighter who had just, won just about all of his fights since his last loss? He lost to Sonny Liston in 1960. By the time he fought Ali in 66, this was 6 years later, several fights later, where he had knocked out just about every opponent he fought, with the exception of a split decision to Ernie Terrell. Who has Mayweather fought in comparison to that? Victor Ortiz? Who? Canelo Alvarez? You think he could add up to what Cleveland Williams did? I'm talking even Canelo Alvarez, his best victory, Diego Corrales, is not the fighter Cleveland Williams was. He's just not, Karceno. Cleveland Williams was knocking people out, heavyweights, not midgets, but heavyweights. I know it's weight class to weight class, but Cleveland Williams was one of the baddest boys around at one time. Okay? He was a big guy. He beat the hell out of Cleveland Williams, man. Considering that Cleveland Williams was coming off of that long streak of victories. Do your damn research, man. You sound like a fool up here. Who did he fight after Cleveland Williams? He fought Ernie Terrell, the same guy who beat Cleveland Williams in a split decision. Who was Ernie Terrell? Ernie Terrell was the WBA World Heavyweight Champion. That's who he was. Ernie Terrell had not lost in 5 or 6 years. And guess who beat Ernie Terrell? Cleveland Williams. So that's just proof right there for you Flomos that, yes, a fighter could lose to somebody and come back and win, because you guys don't even know basic shit like that. He was knocked out by Cleveland Williams in 1962. A year later, he defeated Cleveland Williams in a split decision. You guys act like Cleveland Williams ain't shit and he's a bum. He's not a bum. Go look at his fucking record and look at the time when Ali fought him. Look at the time when he fought him, because that's very important. And when I break down Mayweather's resume, I'm going to show you how time is very important. He beat Terrell, a fighter who, guess what, was beating black fighters, fighting other black fighters. I don't even have to put too much emphasis on that. I don't know why I'm doing it, because, there's just so many other flaws here in regards to Mayweather's resume, and I can't wait to break it down so I can show you. But he beat Ernie Terrell, who was taller than him, who was a bigger fighter than him. Ernie Terrell was 6'6". He was a tall guy, a very tall guy. Does Mayweather like to fight taller guys? What about when Williams was a valid name? Did he fight a taller guy than him in Williams? A bigger guy? No, he didn't. Terrell was bigger than Ali. He was. After that, he fought Foley, okay? Right here it says on BoxRec, I knew he had a stacked record, but he was 74-7. He was 74-7, it says here. Anyone who's a boxing historian knows who Foley is. They know that he was a master boxer. He was a very skilled fighter, very skilled, who proved himself as a skilled technician. Do your research on Foley. If you don't know him, do your research. Karceno doesn't know who this guy is. He don't have no idea. Who has Mayweather fought that's a black fighter who had this many fights and who was a skilled black fighter? Who? Who can he compare to Zora Foley? Who could compare in his resume to Ernie Terrell? Who could compare to Cleveland Williams? When he fought Ali, he was on a 10-fight winning streak. He had a draw with Mildenberger. He beat George Savallo. He fought Mildenberger over there in Germany, Foley. He beat Bob Foster. This guy wasn't no bum. Where the hell are you getting this shit from, Karceno? The guy had damn near 100 fights at the time. You want to say he's past his prime? Fighters fought more back then. He went past his prime. Fighters were fighters back then. With none of this pretty boy shit and sitting around and picking and choosing. This man was going abroad fighting all kind of people, fighting black people too, by the way. Something that Mayweather doesn't have on his resume. What happened after that? Let's see what Karceno said here. Let's go onto Karceno's notes here. He mentioned, he did mention Ernie Terrell, who he said had no power. He said Ernie Terrell had no power. Ernie Terrell, he didn't really have a whole lot of power, but neither does Mayweather. He has more power than Mayweather. He was knocking out more people than Mayweather when he fought Ali. I mean, come on, man. What about Mayweather? Does he have power? Is that your definition of power? He comes back. He fights Jerry Quarry. Now, here's where Karceno starts really getting stupid here. Because he's thinking that when Ali came back, that Ali was still champ. Ali was stripped of his title, people. He was stripped of his title. He came back. He fought Jerry Quarry. He was no longer champ when he fought Quarry. Yes, he was not the fighter that he once was. In the early 70s, he was still a different fighter than he was in the late 70s. He then went on and fought Oscar Bonavena. Let me mention, too, that Jerry Quarry was 37-4 when Ali fought him. He was a pretty good fighter, and he had fought quite a few people. He had a whole bunch of experience. More experience than any white boy on Floyd's resume. Better than all the white boys on Floyd's resume. But anyways, Oscar Bonavena, okay? He was 46-6 when Ali fought him. I am shocked that Karceno don't know Oscar Bonavena. How many boxing fans out there don't know Oscar Bonavena? When Ali fought him, this is a guy who had never been knocked out. Never. In fact, the only guy to ever knock him out is Ali. When Ali fought him, he won the NABF heavyweight title, okay? The NABF title was a more recognized belt back then because they didn't have all these alphabet belts, these alphabet world belts. I know a lot of you old school fans will remember the NABF belt. But that's what he won, Karceno. So when you were in your video blabbing about how he lost his title to Frazier, not knowing what the hell you're talking about, he had not won his title back, Karceno. Who was Bonavena? He defeated Jimmy Ellis. Didn't you give Ellis some credit as one of the milestones? Well, Bonavena defeated him. He gave Joe Frazier hell. He gave Joe Frazier hell, man. In fact, he fought Joe Frazier 2 times. And he even knocked Joe Frazier down a couple of times. But yet, you can't pronounce this guy's name. You have no idea who he is. Fought Zorro Foley. He fought Mildenberger. Yes, and he fought him over in Germany because that's what fighters do. They go into other people's backyard and fight. That's what we as fight fans can remember, but you don't know nothing about that because, Karceno, I have discovered that you only started watching boxing recently. You know, I was kind of on to you when you first came onto YouTube because there was a time where you was only talking about Mayweather. But as time went on, your knowledge increased. I have to give you some. Your knowledge increased as time went on. But I knew in the beginning, and I should have went with my gut feeling, I knew that you were new to the sport. I knew it then. And I thought I was wrong. When you started doing other videos, I was like, maybe I was wrong about Karceno. But Karceno, you picked up boxing late, buddy. You picked up boxing late. You've got a lot of knowledge now. You've done some research, but you just haven't done enough to speak on things like Ali. You haven't, man. You haven't. You don't even know who Oscar Bonavena is, okay? He went on Ali then to fight Joe Frazier, okay? The same guy that couldn't stop Bonavena, which Ali is the only person to ever stop Bonavena. Give him credit. The same guy who was knocked down by Bonavena twice. What Karceno focused on was the 26-0 because Floyd Mayweather said it's cool to be undefeated. He even emphasized it in his video. Listen to his video again. He emphasized it. Damn, this is going to be a long video. I'm going to have to try to speed this up a little bit, man. Look, Ali then will lose to Frazier, okay? Now, Karceno asked the question, because he doesn't know anything about this era, he wanted to know why it took Ali so long to fight Frazier again. Frazier didn't want to fight Ali again. Frazier's the one who took the easy route. He's the one who took the easy route after Ali. Who did Frazier want to fight? He fought a fighter named Terry Daniels, and he fought Ron Standard. Both of those guys were kind of like, I did research on them years ago, and they were kind of like in the unknown for the most part. There were more valid fighters than these guys, and guess who was fighting the more valid fighters? Ali. He was fighting the more valid fighters. He wanted his rematch against Frazier. Ali went all over the place, beating all kind of people. He didn't fight George Foreman because George Foreman wanted that belt. George Foreman wanted to be champion. George Foreman was gunning for Frazier. During this time period, Ali was known as the people's champion during this time period, which Karceno knows nothing about. He failed to mention this time period in an accurate way. What kind of fighters did he fight? He fought Jimmy Ellis. Let's see what Karceno said, some comical shit too. Oh yeah, by the way too, Karceno said on this video, and I'm thinking you might have made a mistake, but the Bonavina fight, let's go back to that. He said that Ali lost to Bonavina. You might have read that wrong when you was reading Bots Rec, Karceno, but he defeated Oscar Bonavina too. Just to call you out on that error, you gave wrong information. But let's go through this here. Let's see. Buster Mathis. You said that Buster Mathis was a bum, I believe. Did you call Buster Mathis a bum? Let me look back at these notes here. I can't remember if you called Buster Mathis a bum. Okay, you said you gave him credit for the Mathis fight as the note that I took. Yeah, Mathis was a good fighter. A black fighter, too, at 29-2. Who does Mayweather have to compare to that? A 29-2 black fighter, huh? He continued to go, Mac Foster, another black fighter that, I think you call Mac Foster a bum, who was 28-1 at the time. Mac Foster was a damn good fighter. Who the hell did Mayweather fight that's a black fighter that's 28-1? You know what Mayweather would say to a black fighter that's 28-1? I don't know who he is. That's what he would say. He would totally disregard that fighter. Fought him over there in Japan, too. That's another thing Ali did. He fought abroad. You remember that, Flomos? He fought George Chuvalo again. He was defending his NABF crown during this time period. He beat Alvin Lewis. Alvin Lewis was another black fighter. I remember him. Alvin Blue Lewis. Another thing that Karceno did, too, is when he was saying Chuvalo fought, he fought this bum Chuvalo again. What did he do? I think Karceno said some shit like, what did he do to get another fight with Ali? Shit, Ali wasn't the champ, man. He wasn't the champ at the time, so I don't know what you're talking about. That's that Mayweather concept of a belt not meaning nothing. You know, he just, Karceno has a different way of thinking, man. He just does. It's more of the Floyd Mayweather way of thinking, you know, and that's where his flaw is, because he doesn't really understand how we think different. Hey, man, I'm not mad at you because, you know, everyone has their own opinion, man. They all have their own opinion. When you start saying things like bum and this and that, those are the things that are opinion-based. Like, see, Flomos like to say, oh, well, he has his opinion, this and that. Oh, he has his opinion. But there's a lot of factual shit in what I'm talking about, such as like what's on the resume, such as like what happened in the fight. But when you're getting into calling people bum and this and that, that's opinion. And when I'm getting into saying that they're not a bum, like if I say that Matt Foster's not a bum, that's just my opinion. It's not a fact, but I mean, come on, man. The guy had only lost one time. I mean, if you want to call that a bum, then fine. But I don't see you doing that to any of the guys on Mayweather's resume, though. And I'm going to dissect Mayweather's resume because I have a little bit of a feeling that I know his resume better than you, too. because I think you picked up on Mayweather a little bit late, which I was watching Mayweather in the 1990s. You wasn't. He fought Joe Bugner. Joe Bugner was the best fighter over in Europe at the time. Also, it's Joe Bugner, not Joe Burger. He fought Floyd Patterson, who had just been on a fucking winning streak out of this world. He fought, you could say he was past his prime, but you went on to say, well, he got knocked out by Ali and we never heard from him again. But the thing about it is Ali was the only person who knocked him out, though. You didn't mention that. He fought Bob Foster. Bob Foster was the first person to cut him. I'm trying to speed this shit up now. I'm just looking at the resume, and I'm giving y'all what I know about this time period. Bob Foster was a legendary light heavyweight. He was the first person to cut Ali. I remember that. He fought Ken Norton to a split decision. Now, the way Karceno made it sound as though Ali kept getting his hand raised, he said at one point in his video. No, he didn't keep getting his hand raised. He lost the first fight to Ken Norton. He got his jaw busted. That just shows you, you know, what kind of fighter Ali is, the warrior he is. He came back and avenged that. And in that second fight, he beat Norton decisively in the second fight. He got in very good shape. Go look at Ali's body in the first fight in comparison to the second fight. Ali was in grand shape for the second Ken Norton fight. In fact, he had not been in that kind of shape in quite some time. He was in grand shape for the second fight. And in my opinion, I think that he won. And you notice I said opinion, because this is where, like I said before, certain aspects of boxing have to do with an opinion. The fact is that he fought Ken Norton because it's on his resume. We know it happened. There's video footage as evidence. But the opinion is, I think that he won the fight, the second fight against Ken Norton. Now, the third fight against Ken Norton, I think Ken Norton won that fight. But for him for Karceno, he said that Ali kept getting his hand raised. He lost the first fight. What are you talking about? So, in my opinion, which is different from yours, and Ken Norton is a great fighter on top of that, but which is different from yours, Ken Norton was only ripped off one time in the third fight. He got the decision he deserved in the first fight. In the second fight, I think Ali deserved the decision. So don't try to use words to make it sound as though he got ripped off 3 times. You're fooling the Flomos who don't know anything about the sport. That's what you're doing. Then he goes and he fights Joe Frazier again. When he fought Joe Frazier that second time, Karceno, it was for the NABF title. Neither one of them had a belt. Then he fought George Foreman. Now Karceno, he finally wins back his heavyweight crown. 10 years, pretty much, after he won against Sonny Liston. See, you failed to mention during that first 4 years or so that Ali was a contender. He was a contender. He had an NABF title, Karceno. He was having to fight his way back into contention. It's not his fault Frazier didn't want to fight him again. He wanted Frazier. He finally got his shot against George Foreman, okay? Any more? You totally danced over Manila. You didn't even mention Manila, which was a grueling fight. I believe that Frazier and Ali both were past their prime in Manila. That was a grueling fight, but you danced over it like it didn't happen. He went on, he fought Chuck Webner. Chuck Webner is somebody who I would say is pretty much the standard of what's on Mayweather's resume to me. I mean, I'm just talking about just the meat of the resume. There are standout points in Mayweather's resume. But when I do this same thing to Mayweather, I am going to talk about all the fighters that Mayweather didn't fight. Now, why can't I do that with Ali? Why can't I find all these fighters that he didn't fight? I could fight several fighters that Mayweather didn't fight. And people, you know, the Flomos on your page, the same Flomos who don't know nothing about what I'm talking about right now. It's like Chinese algebra to them, what I'm talking about right now. You know, like Young Tone, and I can't think of the other young boy's name from over there in England who's always commenting. But, you know, it's like Chinese algebra talking to them right now. They have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. You do, though. You've grasped an idea of, you're at that next level. You're at the next chapter in the book. A few chapters ahead of them. So I'm teaching you a little lesson right now, okay? He fought Bugner, who was the best fighter in Europe at the time, again. He fought Ron Lyle. Ron Lyle was a fucking murderer. Who does Mayweather have that could compare to Ron Lyle? I'm having to speed through this damn video now because it's getting too long. But Ron Lyle, at the time he fought Ali, man. What do he have? He had he had 2 losses. Ron Lyle had 2 losses when he fought Ali. Okay? He was a young black fighter who was knocking out everybody he fought and only had 2 losses. How many fighters are like that on Mayweather's resume? I've mentioned so many young black fighters on Ali's resume, but see, because they could have 1 loss and Karceno will write him off. He'll write him off. But Mayweather doesn't fight young black fighters with 1 loss. He doesn't, because he's scared of them. He fought Jimmy Young. Jimmy Young was a very, very sharp fighter, a very good boxer. Defeated George Foreman, okay? You have to look at the time period when Jimmy Young fought Ali, though. You have to look at the time period. Jimmy Young had some momentum coming in that fight. How big was that win streak that Jimmy Young had? He had a few draws in there. He had beat guys like Ron Lyle. He had a draw with Ernie Shavers. But for the most part, he hadn't lost in years. How many black fighters that were skilled, that were still young, that had a loss in Mayweather fight? Give me some names, man. Who compares to Jimmy Young? Who compares to some of the other black fighters I named? Chop Chop Corley? When I get into Floyd's resume, I'll tell you what those guys were all about, each of their opponents too. I'll tell you what Mayweather's opponents was about. And I'll continue to bring up some of Ali's opponents while I'm doing this to Mayweather too. I have to be fair here. After Jimmy Young, he did fight Ken Norton again, okay? He fought Ernie Shavers. Now, you said that Ernie Shavers was way past his prime, which was really funny to me. Because right after that, Ernie Shavers went on to give Larry Holmes hell. A young prime Larry Holmes. George Foreman, he wanted no parts of Ernie Shavers. Jerry Cooney wanted no parts of Ernie Shavers when he was up and coming. Ernie Shavers did not have 1 foot in the grave. What are you talking about, man? I don't know where you get your information from. But it proves to everybody that you don't know your boxing. After that, he does go on to fight Leon Spinks, who only had 7 or 8 fights at the time. Floyd Mayweather tried to write Ali's whole career off based off of that fight with Leon Spinks. He pretended like that defined Ali's career. After all the shit that I just told you, he chose to go to a Leon Spinks fight when Ali had already developed early signs of Parkinson's. Just like Big Mike said, by 1976-77, you could hear the slurred speech in Ali's voice pattern. I did it too, Mike. I did the same thing, Big Mike, because I'm a huge fan of Ali. But when I finally did have internet access, I went back to the years and I tried to listen to various interviews to find out when the speech pattern started to change. And I was able to pinpoint it around the same time that you pinpointed it, which was around 76, 77. He fought Larry Holmes. He retired for 2 years after he defeated Leon Spinks. He retired and came back and fought Larry Holmes, a prime Larry Holmes, and then he fought Trevor Berbick, which concludes Ali's career. So, once again, Floyd Mayweather gave wrong information. Karceno tried to add on to Floyd Mayweather's way of thinking, and he gave a lot of things that were not opinion-based in his video, but he actually gave us some wrong information, factual too. And he left out information, left a lot of holes in his argument. Holes that show that he does not have the boxing knowledge that we thought that he had. He picked up on boxing late. I would say that if I had to guess right, I would say Karceno probably started watching boxing around 06. I'd be willing to bet 06. That's just my opinionated guess. Now, I wanted to tell you guys that when I was working for this podcast years ago, a lot of people were contacting me because they either wanted to get on the show, they had heard me on the show, and I was getting a lot of mails, and I was exchanging my number to a lot of people, and I ran across a guy, and I don't want to say his name to put his name on blast, but he told me, he said that he was a sparring partner for Floyd Mayweather, and him and another black fighter was let go because they had roughed Floyd up in a couple of sparring sessions. He didn't want to tell me the other black fighter's name, but he said it's because of the other black fighter why Floyd went to closed-door sparring sessions. Now, I'm not saying that it's true. It's possible. I could guarantee you that the guy I was talking to was a sparring partner of Floyd Mayweather's. That much I could guarantee you because I did my research and I asked the right people. Now, when he was telling me this stuff, I kind of wrote it off as maybe this is just a bitter sparring partner who's mad that he got fired. But I was going to war with the Pac-Tards about Manny Pacquiao, and I was arguing with them saying that Manny Pacquiao doesn't fight black fighters. And mind me, this was before he went on to fight some black fighters. I mean, he's getting ready to fight Bradley for a second time. But the guy had called me. We exchanged numbers, and he told me, he said, look, man, I will come on your radio show, and I will tell you about this. And out of respect for Floyd, I said, nah, I don't want to do that. But from what the guy told me, man, and like I said, it could be true. It might not be true. I'm not going to write it off totally, but he said that there was a few black sparring partners. There was one who busted his lip up pretty bad, but he told me that a number of them had roughed up Floyd Mayweather, and he even told me that Lamont Peterson had got the better of Floyd in a sparring session. I don't know how true that was either, but apparently because of this, Floyd chose to not fight black fighters because there were certain fighters out there who could crack that code that you guys think is a code, but it's not a code. But they knew how to make Floyd look pretty bad in there. This is just what I heard, man. I also heard, and this was slipped out from his camp too, believe me, this information is just as valid as what Karceno claims to tell you he gets out of his camp. And believe me, those circles that Karceno steps into, if I really wanted to step into those circles, even right now, if I really was motivated to step into those same circles, I could get into that world easy. Trust me, it's an easy thing for me to do. Just a few telephone calls, trust me. But I was told that Floyd Mayweather even would have nightmares about Manny Pacquiao, particularly around the time that Pacquiao fought Margarito. And one night he woke up in sweats and he asked his team to come out for a nightly workout session. You see what Floyd is doing now. He's once again he's fighting a flat-footed fighter. He's fighting Madonna next. A fighter that was beat soundly by Alexander, a fighter that Floyd teased and did not want to fight. But see, there are better fighters out there than Madonna. See, that's the thing. Ali, he left no stones unturned. When I do Floyd Mayweather's resume, there's going to be some opinionated stuff in there along with some facts. But I like to do a few scenarios. I would like to wonder what Ali would have did in certain situations. Do you think if Ali was in a division that had so many contenders that he would not have fought them by now? We have to look at the pattern of what he did. Do you think that there would be fighters like Keith Thurman and Porter and Bradley and Pacquiao and Lara that he has not fought? He fought guys with those kind of records all the time. I just went through, I didn't even go through his whole resume, but I went through a lot of it. Did a better job than Karceno. But do you think that an opponent like Margarito could have approached Ali and got in his face, and you don't think Ali would have made a scene right then? And then after that, been in the ring with him a few months later? You guys don't know Ali if you think so. See, that's the difference between Floyd and Ali. Those are the things that Karceno doesn't want to really think about. And if he thinks about it, he'll leave it out of his argument. Again, Floyd Mayweather has disappointed us. There's several fighters out there that the Flomo would say, just like the Pactar did once, oh, he'll just kill that guy. I remember years ago, man, I was working at this podcast and Timothy Bradley came onto the podcast and we interviewed Timothy Bradley. And you know what? I was told by several Manny Pacquiao extremes that this guy would get killed by Manny Pacquiao. Well, guess what? It didn't happen when they fought. He didn't get killed. I thought Pacquiao won the fight, but he didn't get killed like Pacquiao's extreme fans were saying. But see, you Flomos are very similar. You guys remind me of Pacquiao's extreme fans. In fact, I think you guys are quite a bit dumber, to be honest, because you guys actually really think you know the sport. Whereas the Pacquiao fan, it was obvious that their support was for Pacquiao. But along with you supporting Mayweather, you want to come off as some boxing genius when you know nothing about the history of the sport. And that's what I'm saying. Even one of your leaders in Karceno, who, believe me, is a better leader for you Flomos than any of the other guys that are talking on YouTube, the pro Floyd channels, which tend to resort to insults and things like that because they don't have any boxing knowledge. Can you imagine some of these other Flomo leaders coming on here and actually really trying to make a valid argument like Karceno did? I respect Karceno for that. But he was better off sticking to the insults like he put out that video with me where he was portraying me. He was better off with that. Because these guys, it's not on my level when it comes to boxing history. You see? Anyways, man, good try, Karceno. I respect you for that. I'm out.